How's it going, guys? I hope you have a fantastic day so far, and today we have the perfect story about karma. A perfect story of an angry Karen grandpa who got what he deserved in the end. So this story will definitely leave you satisfied. Subscribe if you're new. If you want to send in your own story, check the description for my email, and let's jump into it. So as you read the title correctly, this story is actually about an angry grandpa who actually crashed into my mom's car and did the unthinkable. And before I talk to you about the Karen grandpa, I have to give a little bit of background information about my mom, because you see, well, she's not the slowest driver in the world, to be fair, but she is a driving instructor, so she knows how to drive. Even though she's kind of on the quick side, she knows how to drive safely, I guess you can say. And I personally always shit on her driving because, I had zero mistakes or accidents during my drive, and I already have my driving license for like 5 years now, almost 6 years. But in today's story, this example is definitely not my mom's fault. So basically, I live in a neighborhood, and to be honest, the streets are quite narrow, and one side of the street there's always parked cars there, and they are basically blocking half of the road, so there's only a possibility of like one car driving through the street. And it's quite a dangerous road because the cars kind of block your viewpoint, and there's a lot of roads coming into that road, so there's a lot of cars. Well, they have to give way, so if you are on the big road with, the parked cars, you actually can drive, and the other cars who come from the right and left of the street, they have to wait for you, because in my country you kind of have to give way for cars who come from the right side. But if there's like this kind of like driveway which goes down a bit, the cars that go from the ramp, from the driveway ramp, they actually have to wait for you. And it's not really hard to drive in that, street and instantly crash into a car, because if your vision is good, if your reaction time is good, it is fine. But if you're too old, if you're like an old grandpa and your reaction speed is just not quick at all. I mean, one of my older grandpas, like, he just decided to just not drive the car anymore, because I know a lot of other old people who are like, I'm just too old to drive this car. I'm just not gonna drive. It's very unsafe for like other people if I would drive, and I probably will crash my car into a tree at some point. So I just decide to keep my car in my garage and never drive anymore. Which is, to be quite honest with you, probably for the best. I would do exactly the same in that situation, even though, I love driving my car. But, if you're too old, if your reaction is just very slow, you just can't trust your own body anymore with, driving. I think that's even the more scariest part of it. Like, your body, your brain is probably just going to let you die. And I mean, that's fair, that's fine, because there's plenty of other possibilities to like drive somewhere. You can just, call a taxi service for like old people and just go to the hospital or somewhere else, or the supermarket, or just go biking or walking. Not a big deal. Anyway, so I was sitting in a car, right? And I was sitting in the front of the car and, in the passenger seat basically. My mom was sitting to the left of me and behind the steering wheel, and my brother was sitting behind me. And our car was just packed fully, like my brother's ice hockey kind of bag, on wheels. Like, those things are huge. They're as long and big as like a 12-year-old kid, I would say. Or like this huge military backpack. So yeah, it was really cramped in the car, and one of the back seats had to be reclined, otherwise the bag would never fit. And there was also the ice hockey stick, which is also like a long stick. So yeah, the situation in the car was indeed quite messy, to say the least. So anyways, my mom was driving like a normal speed. I think it was like 20 miles per hour through like the streets. And all of a sudden, my brother in the back, like, he started to kind of annoy me and my mom, I remember. And my mom was just kind of looking at him in the back. So she wasn't really looking at the front anymore, so she didn't really see like what happened in front of her, but I was like the one looking in the front. And I kind of assisted my mom a little bit with like steering, because she could not see where she was steering because she was looking at the back, and she was kind of saying my brother to just stop annoying us basically. However, all of a sudden, and honestly it happened so damn fast, all of a sudden there was this old man, this old grandpa in a car just racing through our streets, and he was coming from the left ramp, the left ramp from the street, and he was just flooring it almost. And honestly, it looked like it was in slow motion, but it actually took less than 2 seconds for us to just crash into each other. Honestly, it was so anxiety inducing. It was such a mess because both my mom and the grandpa just braked way too late, and it was already too late. So anyways, what happened is like his car was totally like totaled, I guess you can say, and he drove against our car. He crashed into our car, but he crashed into the left and right doors of the car, so kind of like the side of the car. So luckily the engine was fine and like all the other electronics were fine, but our doors were just totally jammed. Like my mom's and my brother's door is just totally jammed. There was like a big hole in it. And honestly, thank God my brother was sitting at the back of my seat, just like at the right of the car, because God forsake, because it could actually happen that the car would just hurt him by just, jamming our door, which luckily did not happen. Thank God. But yeah, a couple of seconds later after the impact, honestly, it was just so hectic and everyone was just screaming and just so confused. My brother was just completely silent. Like he was annoying and squeamish all the time, like throughout the whole like car drive, but now he was just completely silent. And my mom and me, we were kind of like shaking a little bit, just not believing what the hell just happened. And then when we felt that we were safe and we checked on my brother and he was also safe, and you couldn't really see that the doors were jammed from the inside rather than the outside, so there was still some space between the doors and door panels, the plastic ones on the door. And also like the sideways, the side of the car had some airbags and they all inflated, so that was good. That was like a safety measure from the car. Very nice, because it's actually probably helped my mom to like not, bonk her head to like the side window. It is absolutely unthinkable that like 60 years ago cars would even have that technology or like seat belts in the first place. I think like the first seat belts were like introduced in like the 60s or something. It's really wild how far car technology really came. But anyways, after checking up on my brother, on my mom, everything was fine. I started looking outside at the old grandpa who just crashed into us, and I was also relieved that there was nothing wrong with him. Like he was just totally fine and he left his car. But then after he left his car, I was looking at his face and he did not look happy at all. Like his facial expression was kind of weird because it looks like he didn't give a shit about the entire situation, and I was just like so surprised because my mom and I, we were like both completely shocked, including my brother. So yeah, my mom tried to open the door, but it didn't work because the doors were completely jammed. So I had to open my door at the right side, and then my mom had to climb through the right side of the car. And then I walked towards the old man and his car, and well, I kind of regret doing that because it was not fun at all. The old man was literally like, "You bloody idiots, how dare you ruin my car?" And I was like, whoa, what is even, like, I was just not like understanding this situation. Like I was so confused, and like I was just confused from the impact, and like I just didn't know what the hell was happening because like my adrenaline was just in my blood and still pumping, and I was kind of like on survival mode still. So I didn't really pay attention to his words that much at first. So yeah, it took like 10 seconds for me to realize that the man was actually angry at us for some reason because we were like crashing into him, even though it was the other way around. Like he was the one who had to give us way. Like we were the ones who were like, we had priority. We could just go, it's like the main road. Even though, to be fair, it was quite cramped. Like it wasn't cramped on his side. So he had literally perfect vision on the road. And to be completely honest, from my perspective, I could barely see him, which makes him like a race monster. Like he literally raced towards the street and we could barely see him. So now this idiot claims that we were in the wrong, even though he was clearly in the wrong. And also the juicy part about this story is that like we literally crashed right in front of the house of one of my best friends at the time. So like his grandma actually came outside, like look at our cars and how bad they were, how completely total loss they were. And she's like the best woman ever. She came towards us and she told us like, I saw everything and this man is just basically speaking garbage. And the spicy thing about all of this is that apparently they knew each other, and she knew that that man was actually incredibly toxic and his wife was also incredibly toxic. So, evil people kind of attract each other. That's how the world works. And like the old man was like, I should have known, or something like that. Like he was literally a Disney villain at this point, and he was like, I'm going to call the police and you are not going to escape this. And my mom was like, yeah, of course we're not. Like our cars are like total loss. Like we can't even drive with those cars anymore because of you. You are the one crashing into us, and we have a witness, which is this lady, this lovely lady over here. And honestly, she was really lovely, and I still see her sometimes, and she's just like the nicest grandma ever, honestly. And then he started threatening my mom and threatening to like sue her and everything, even though like his car was like worth nothing and he was clearly in the wrong. But yeah, eventually the police came, like we just all, explained what happened, and all's well and ends well, because eventually he had to pay my mom, like basically his insurance had to pay the money for the repairs, and he got nothing because his insurance was basically focused on like if he would hurt other people, he had to pay for it and not his own stuff. So eventually he just ended up buying a really tiny, small, old-ass car, which was just, kind of deserved, to be honest. Love you guys. Stay tuned for the double upload of today. There's going to be another video today too. And the best way to support my channel is to binge watch my story videos. They are showing up in the suggested tab and on the screen right now. It really helps out the channel in the algorithm. Leave a like, it really helps with the algorithm too. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.